Good morning to all of you. So, welcome to the today's class, and just write down your names in the chat box for the attendance purpose. Then we will start our class. So, I can see that 42 students have already write down their names, and those who didn't write their names in the chat, write the name in the chat box for the attendance purpose, and then we will start our class. So, write down your names in the chat box first. Okay. In the last class, we have discussed about the performance, and what are the last topic we have discussed that characteristics of the computer. So what are the characteristics of the computers? If we just go back and remember that what are the characteristics of the computer, that is first the speed, second one the accuracy, third one is the reliability, and fourth one is the versatility, and fifth one is the storage capacity. So these are the five characteristics. These are the five characteristics present in a for a computer. So what is speed? Just I'm revising the last topic yesterday's. That is speed. Speed is that a computer. How much instruction can a computer can carry with 1 milli per second? That is called the speed of the computer. Accuracy, how much correct output we can get, or what is the degree of accuracy, high, what is the how much degree of accuracy we are getting. This is called the accuracy. Reliability, that the thing is that a computer can carry out a same work for the multiple times or repeated time without without having any error, providing the correct result for each time. So as it is a machine, it is not a human. So if we are as a human is going to do the same things for a repeated number of times, then the output and the quality will be difference. Okay, because the doing the same things for a n number of times is not at all desired. So that is the thing. Versatility means it can do many type of works at the same time. Okay, not a single particular task, it can carry a multiple tasks at the same time. So this is called the versatility. And storage capacity, it can store a very large amount of data at a fraction of cost of traditional storage files. So these are the five characteristics of a computer. Now we can see a diagram in our window, and that is the basic processor and memory architecture of a computer system. Basic processor and memory architecture of a computer system. So we can see there are some main memory, there are some cache memory, there are some input output devices, and there are some arithmetic logic unit and some control units. So consisting a CPU, a CPU is consisting with ALU and CU, that is or arithmetic logic unit and control unit, followed by some memories, and then in the outside part we can see some input output devices are also present. So this is a basic architecture of a computer system, basic architecture of a computer system, where some arithmetic logic units are present, where some control unit are present, where some memories are present, and some input devices are present. So this is the basic architecture of a computer system, we can say. So in the part of arithmetic logic unit, we can see some accumulative registers are there, some general purpose register are there, and in the control unit part, we can see that some decoding.
हेलो सर
Yes, sir.
सर कैच क्या होता है सर कैच
I'm
हाँ
going.
सर
I am going to tell all the things. Just let me finish first, and then only you can raise your hand. Then ask. Okay. While I'm
ओके सर
discussing. So we can see this type of devices or this type of units things are present in our computer system. Okay, so what is all the things about? So we have seen a basic diagram over there, and now we are going to discuss all of the things one by one. So first of all, CPU or central processing unit. So central processing unit, we know the central processing unit, this is the brain of a computer system. This is the brain of a computer system and performs all major calculation and comparisons. So the first one, CPU is the concept central processing unit, and it is the brain, or it is known as the brain of the computer system. Why it is called as the brain of the computer system? Because if we think as a human, our brain actually controls all the things, our brain actually performs all the things. So similar to that, just like that, in a computer the CPU is the responsible things actually where all the tasks and all the things were performed. So CPU is called the brain of a computer system. It performs all major calculations and comparisons. It performs all major calculations and comparisons, activates and controls the operations of other units of a computer system. So it also, the CPU also activates and controls the operations of other units of a computer system. So we can see that in CPU we have two basic computer components, or two basic components we have. First one is the ALU, arithmetic logic unit, and second one is the CU, control unit. So there are two basic components present in the CPU. First one is the ALU, arithmetic logic unit, and second one is the CU, that is control unit. And no other single component of a computer determines its overall performance as much as the CPU. So we can see from the points. So what are the points we have? They are written. So we can see that the CPU is the main responsible component to do the major tasks, like controlling all the things, like activating all of other computer components, or performs most of the major calculations and the comparisons. So these things, all the major part is done by this CPU, or the central processing unit, and that's why it is called as the brain of the computer system. That's why it is called the brain of the computer system. Then moving to our next component, which is the part of the CPU, the CPU, that is central processing unit, that is that CU, control unit. That is CU, control unit. So what is CU or what is control unit? Control unit, it is one of the basic components of CPU, or the central processing unit. Central nervous system, also we can say it is a computer system. Central nervous system of a computer system selects and interprets programs instructions and coordinates executions, has some special purpose register and a decoder to perform these activities. So control unit is a responsible thing to control all the operations, to control all the operations of the computer, to control all the operations of the computer. So controlling all the operations of the computer is done by control systems, actually is done by control system actually. And selects and interprets the program instruction and coordinates execution. So what are the program instruction is there, whatever the program instruction are there, and whatever the coordinates or things need to be executed, those particular operations or particular instructions, it is done by the control unit. So what type of performance or what type of operation is going on, and regarding to that, I will respond to that, what type of units are needed to perform that particular operation. It is done by this control unit, and it has some special purpose registers and decoder to perform this activity. So there are some unit like register, decoder, this type of units are present under the control unit, who actually helps to do this particular or perform this particular activity. So control unit is actually responsible to control the things, control the process, control the operations, how the perform, how the things is going to work, how the program instructions are going to execute. This is actually done by this control unit. Next, arithmetic logic unit. So arithmetic logic unit, we can say it is another component of CPU. and it actual execution of instruction takes place. So actual instruction will be taking place in ALU or arithmetic logic unit, but to execute this particular instructions or particular operations, control unit is responsible to control the process. So ALU, the where the actual instructions takes place and actual executions takes place, and CU is responsible to manage the operation, manage the process, and has some special purpose register similar to CU, and has necessary circuitry to carry out all the arithmetic and logic operations. So there are some particular some special type of arithmetic and logic units are present in particular ALU, by which we can perform the code instruction or the machine instruction and execute those particular code or execute those particular instructions that with the help of some special type of units of arithmetic and logic operations types unit. Then there are some instruction set. Instruction means that is what is the process, what is the thing is coming from the user, because at the end we are actually the user are using that as per the user input, the thing is actually going to process. So this is the instruction. So whatever the data or whatever the thing is there, that is called the instruction, and a set of instruction is known as the instruction set. So this central processing unit has some built-in activity to execute a particular set of machine instruction. I am saying again, this is the machine instruction, because whatever the user is giving as an input, it will be getting transferred or converted into a machine language that is understandable or that can be understood by the computer, because computer only knows some 0 and 1 or the combination of 0 and 1, and that is called some machine language or machine instructions. So CPU has some built-in ability to execute a particular set of machine instruction called its instruction set. So most CPUs have 200 or more instructions in their instruction set. So what are the instructions? Suppose the operation. The operation is known as the instruction set, such as the addition, multiplication, division, square root, uh, then root actually happen, then comparison, then a greater than, less than, or any type of operation, any type of the instructions is known as is present inside the instruction set. And CPUs made by different manufacturer have different instruction set. So as per the aggression so starting from the pre-age of the computer and now in the modern era of the computer, the development has goes and still it is going on, and the instruction may be getting more much new instruction are actually getting added. So this is called the instruction set. Means actually the in a simple word we can say what is an instruction set, that it is a particular set of machine instructions which are going to execute on as the input, so which are going to execute as a input. Then there are some registers. So what are the registers? It is known as the special memory units called register. It is known as the special memory unit called as register, are used to hold information on a temporary basis as the instructions are interpreted and executed by the CPU. So registers, what are the registers? It is some special memory units. So it is present inside the control unit and as well as ALU. So in both the cases, the register has some special purpose. In ALU, it has some different purpose, and in CU, it has some different purpose. So it is called a memory unit, called used to hold information on a temporary basis as the instruction are interpreted and executed by the CPU. So it is used as to hold some information on a temporary basis as the instruction are getting interpreted means the converted as per the user input, and then it is going to convert into some machine in like machine instruction. So they where this thing actually takes place, and it is actually hold some information for some time on a temporary basis and executed by the CPU. Registers are the part of the CPU of a computer. So registers are the part of the CPU of a computer, not actually the main memory. It is a part of a CPU. And the length of a register, sometimes called its word size, equals the number of bits it can do. So there are several type of bits, bytes, and this type of word length actually present. So depending on the word length, it actually works, or depending upon the work length, the length of the register we can be called. So the length of the register is depends sometimes on the word size or on the bit bytes, whatever the things are. So now we can see there are some name of some registers. So we can see there are names of some register is present, and what is the name of particular register and what is the function of those register is present here. First one is the memory address register. So what is the first one? That is the memory address register, or we can say MAR, memory address register, and or in short we can say that is MAR. So MAR, the function of memory address register is to hold address of the active memory location, to hold address of the active memory location. So memory address register is used to hold address of the active memory location. Second one, the MBR, memory buffer register. Second one is the MBR, that is memory buffer register, that is holds contents of the accessed or read or written memory word. So it holds the content of the accessed memory word, means the read or write, whatever the operation is going on as per the things, whether it is read or whether it is the write mode, that things actually hold by the memory buffer register. Then program control register or PC register. Program control register, it hold address of the next instruction to be executed. So a large number of instructions are waited in the queue, so for the process or for the execution. So while one instruction is already in the process of execution, our next instruction is are waiting, actually our next instruction is waiting actually into the queue to get processed. So this PC register is actually, this program control register is actually the thing, or actually the register where the it hold address of the next instruction that is going to execute. So whatever the next instruction is need to be executed, that is actually going to hold by this PC or program control register, program control register. Then we have some accumulator, or it is denoted by the A. The accumulator holds the data to be operated on intermediate results and the results. So this accumulator actually holds the data to be operated on. So here comes the data on which the operation or the perform on which the operation will going on, the perform will be happen. Also it holds the intermediate results. So sometimes a large execution can happen. So for the in that scenario, so where a large execution is actually happening, sometimes we need to hold the intermediate result. So there must be many one or two intermediate result for that is going to be needed for our final result, for the process of our final result. So to hold that intermediate data or intermediate result, or holds the data to be operated on, and the result, this is actually hold by the accumulator register. This is actually hold by the accumulator register. This is actually held by the accumulator register. Then the instruction or I. This instruction holds an instruction while it is being executed. Instruction is holds an instruction while it is being executed. And input output, we all know that this is some commonly input output devices. Some maybe for input devices are used for some giving some input, and output devices is giving to produce the output or to see the output. So as a things we can say that input, we can see mouse and the keyboard is the input devices, and printer and display, we can say that it is an output devices. So these are the register or the functions of commonly used register we can talk about. Then type of processor, what type of processors are present there. So we can see that in our computer system there are basically three type computer or four type of computer. We can check that architecture are present, so or the processor are present. So what are the four type of processor? First one is CISC, that is complex instruction set computer. CISC, that is known as the complex instruction set of computer. So what are the features of this CISC? What are the features of this CISC processor? That is large instruction set. The first characteristic we can say that CISC, that is the large instruction set. So this CISC processor can carries out a large instruction as a set for this particular scenario. Then variable length instruction, it can be done. Variety of addressing modes, complex and expensive to produce. So the basic things we can say that in CISC, it is first that large instruction set, the number of, if the instruction are the in the if the instruction number are large, then in that case the CISC is better to use or the CISC processor are better to use. The large instruction set, variable length instruction can be there, variety of addressing modes, different type of addressing modes are there, and complex and expensive to produce. Complex and expensive to produce. So these are the things we can talk about. And it is mostly used in personal computers. So where the CISC actually used, the CISC is actually used mostly in the personal computers such as a desktop or laptop. This type of where the large instruction set is actually working. This is actually known as the where the CISC actually used. So it is the complex instruction set of computer. We can say which is a single in which a single instructions can execute several low-level operations such as load from memory and arithmetic operations and a memory store. This type of thing can be done in the CISC. Our next thing that is there is RISC architecture or RISC processor. So RISC it is used for small instruction sets. So if the instruction set is small, then we are going to use RISC, and if the instruction set is large, then we are going to use CISC. And it has some fixed length instruction, not any type of variable length instruction, and it will be reduced reference to memory to retrieve operands. It will reduce reference to memory to retrieve the operands. So it is mostly used in any type of workstations. It is mostly used in any type of workstation. So CISC is used in personal computers, and RISC used for workstations actually. Then we have some EPIC processor, that is some explicitly parallel instruction computing to explicitly parallel instruction computing. So doing a parallel instruction computing explicitly, this is known as the EPIC processor. So it allows software to communicate explicitly to the processor when operations are parallel. So two operations or more than two operations are going parallelly at the same time. So it allows the software to communicate explicitly with each other to perform this particular task. Use tighter coupling between the compiler and the processor. Use tighter coupling between the compiler and the processor. Tighter coupling between the computer and the processor. So what is actually a tighter couple, or what we can say a loosely couple? So tight couple, there are two things actually happen. That is one a tightly coupled and other one is a loosely coupled. So tightly coupled means that classes and objects are dependent on one another. Means if we're talking about classes and objects, in case of basic, if we see in general that tightly coupled means the devices of a computer are dependent on each other, are dependent on each other. While in loosely coupled, it will reduce the dependencies where the dependency on each other will be less, or we can say there is very low level of dependency between the devices. But in tightly coupled, the level of dependency or the dependency between the devices is very much high. So tightly coupled used between the compiler and the processor. So we can see that the compiler and the processor are dependent on each other to execute the instruction or to carry out this particular processor. Enable compiler to extend minimum parallelism in the original code and explicitly describe it to the processor. So it enables the computer to extract minimum parallelism in the original code and explicitly describe it to the processor. So this APIC is actually used where mostly used in high-end servers and the workstations. So this APIC is actually used in mostly high-end servers and the workstations. So high-end servers or workstation where we use this APIC. In workstations, we use this RISC, and in personal computers or desktop laptop, we are using this CISC architecture. And then the multi-core processor, it has a processor chip, has multiple cooler running, more energy efficient processing cores. So multi-core processor is actually some new generation technique or architecture where the processor chip has multiple cooler running, more energy efficient processing cores, improve overall performance by handling more work in parallel. So we can do many work at the same time parallelly, and it also improving the performance or the overall performance, can share their architectural components such as memory elements and memory management. So these managements or these units also can be shared between each of the devices. So it is used in again some high-end server and workstations. So because high-end servers and workstation needs much more performance, or in term of performance, it will be the speed of the performance or the performance should be very high for the workstations and the servers. So that's why these things actually used mostly in workstation and servers. Now we are going to talk about this memory. So what is the memory? So every computer has some memory to hold the data, or to hold the result, to hold the output or the information. So memory comes into the two scenarios. So memory comes into the two scenarios. One can be a temporary memory and one can be a total or full time memory. We can, I mean, in general we can say this particular term a temporary memory, or what is a full time memory. Okay. So every computer has some temporary storage built into the computer hardware. So every computer has some temporal storage built into the computer hardware. It store instructions and the data of a program mainly when the program is being executed by the CPU. So it stores, so the main memory actually store instructions and the data of a program mainly when the program is being executed by the CPU. The temporary storage is known as the main memory, primary storage, or simply memory. So memory can be described or disseminated with the main memory, primary memory, or simply memory. So physically it consists of some chips either on the motherboard or on a small circuit board attached up to the motherboard of the computer. So it is not actually some type of chips. It is some type of integrated chips or IC, we can say, which is attached to the motherboard, or which is parallelly attached with the substrate of motherboard. And it has some random access property, and it is volatile also. So with the shape of the storage evolution criteria, there are some properties, that is the storage capacity, access time, cost per bit of storage, volatility, and access. This type of things actually is the criteria of the scenario. So we can see that these are the criteria, or these are the things we can talk about. These are the criteria actually, that storage capacity, how much storage capacity is there, what is the storage capacity, what is the access time to of the what is the access time to access that particular storage, what is the access time to access that particular storage, also what is the cost per bit of the storage, what is the cost per bit of the storage, and what is the volatility. Some type of memory has volatility, and some are non-volatile. So these are the things actually. And then the access, again, some it would be a random access or would be a sequential access. It can be random access, it can be sequential access. This type of things is actually present in the storage evaluation criteria, in the storage evaluation criteria. So storage capacity, access time, cost per bit, this is the thing. So we can say that a memory is like a human brain. A memory is like a human brain. So it is basically used to store the data and the instructions. It is basically used to store the data and the instructions, and it is the storage space in the computer where data is going to process and instruction required for the processing are stored. So this is called the store memory. So this is a memory, the basic definition of memory, we can say that. So memory is primarily of three types. So while we are talking about memory, so the memory is primarily of three types. Okay, first one is the cache memory, second one is the primary memory or main memory, and third one is the secondary memory, we can say. So we can talk about this particular thing. So what is the cache memory? So cache memory, it is commonly used for minimizing the memory processor speed mismatch. So cache memory is used commonly for minimizing the memory processor speed mismatch, and it is an extremely fast small memory between CPU and main memory whose access time is closer to the processing speed of the CPU. So main this cache memory is a very fast memory, and also very small memories, means the storage capacity of cache memory is very small, and it is placed in the CPU and between the CPU and the main memory whose access time is very fast. Why it is access time is very fast, and why it is placed in the between of the main memory and the CPU? Because every time if we need a single data to process, every time, suppose a single data is needed every time to process, so every time to access that particular data from the main memory, that will be taking some time. The speed and the access time will be very much high, so that's why it will produce the output with by taking some time. But if the data that is actually needed every time, it is automatically placed in the cache memory, so that it can be accessed very fast, and the data or the result can be processed in a very fast. So cache memory, we can say that it is a very high speed semiconductor memory which can speed up the CPU, which can speed the performance of the CPU, which can speed up the performance of the CPU. It acts as a buffer between the CPU and the main memory, and it is used to hold the parts of data and the program which are most frequently used by the CPU. So as I said, that if a single data is needed every time, so then it is put into the cache memory, so that we can access that with the minimal time, and we can get a good performance with the respective of in term of performance, and the data can be accessed very much faster. So it is a buffer, we can say it is a buffer memory that is placed between the CPU and the main memory, and it holds those part of data and the program which is actually used or which are most frequently used by the CPU. So advantage of this cache memory, we can say that the cache memory is faster than main memory. So as there are three type of memory, primary memory, secondary memory, and cache memory. So memory, this cache memory is actually faster than from those primary memory and the secondary memory. So the speed of or accessing the data from the cache memory is very much high. It consumes less access time as compared to main memory, and it stores the program that can be executed within a short period of time. So these are the particularly cache memory. And one more thing, that this cache memory is very much expensive. The cost of this cache memory is very much expensive, as the performance of cache memory is very much high. So we all know that if a device, if the performance of a device is very good or very much high, then in that term the cost also will be very high for that particular devices. Now, in the part of main memory, this primary memory or the main memory, we can say that it holds the data, or those data is the instruction on which the company is currently working, and it has a limited capacity, and the data is lost when the power is switched off actually, or when the power is going to, when the system will lose the power. So in that case, the data will be lost. So we can say it is a volatile type of memory. It is a volatile type of memory, or where the, and in this particular memory, the is data and instruction that on which the company is currently working is going to store or is going to save. This memory is not much faster, as like similar to we are talking about the cache memory. So the accessing to this particular memory will take some time, and the data instruction is required to be processed resides in the main memory. So whatever the data instruction is going to process, it will be stored in the primary memory. And the characteristic of main memory, we can say that these are the semiconductor memories. It is known as the main memory, and it is usually a volatile memory, and it is the working memory of the computer, and it is faster than secondary memory. So this is the part of main memory. And then the lastly, the secondary memory, this is a type of memory, also now it is available in some external memory part actually. So it is a non-volatile, and it is slower, very much slower than main memory. So as an example of secondary memory, we can say that the HDD or hard disk drive, or some pen drive. Nowadays we can talk about some disk, some DVD. These are the example of this secondary memory. Okay, so these are the things. And in the case of primary memory, one thing I have forgot to mention, that this primary memory is actually categorized into two parts. That can be a ROM and that can be a RAM. So ROM and RAM, that is ROM is used for random access, RAM is used for random access memory, and ROM is used for read only memory. So these type of secondary and primary memory, these are the things that is actually present here. So now the thing is, the discussion is over. So I will take that, if anyone have any type of doubts, so I will ask to unmute him or write your query. So you can ask me your query, then I am going to answer or discuss about it. So first, Manish Kumar of electrical department, kindly unmute yourself, and what is your query? Can tell me.
So what is the size of cache memory?
What is the size of cache memory? Look, the thing is that cache memory is very small, and it is placed between the CPU and or we can say that buffer, or it is actually a buffer memory where the thing is actually present. So cache, there are three level of cache memory is present. We can term that it's the level 1 or level 2 or level 3, and the size of this cache memory is often actually restricted between the 8 KB to 64 KB. So depending upon the level of this cache level, or if it is a level 1, level 2 or level 3, it actually depends, or the size is actually between the 8 kb and 64 kb. It is actually restricted between this 8 kb or 64 kb. Okay, so but nowadays as the thing is actually going to develop and it is in the developing path, so nowadays the size is actually increasing. Some is actually nowadays it is actually 10 MB to up to 60 to 70 MB also is present. Now Aniket, what is your query?
सर आज जो भी पढ़ाया आप कुछ समझ में नहीं आया सर। अगर आप ऐसे पढ़ाएंगे तो सर जो भी इंटरेस्ट होगा बचा कुचा वो भी सब चला जाएगा सर। खाली रीडिंग डाल दिए सर, रीडिंग तो हम लोग भी डाल देंगे सर ऐसे।
तो क्या तुम्हारा सजेशंस क्या है?
सर ऐसे रीडिंग डालने से नहीं ना पढ़ समझ पाएंगे सर कोई भी।
तो
रीडिंग तो हम लोग अपने से भी डाल सकते हैं सर।
अपना सजेशंस
कुछ
बताओ, अपना सजेशन
सर
बताओ।
समझा के पढ़ाएंगे सर तो अच्छा न रहेगा सर।
मैं तो तुम्हारा सजेशन मांग रहा हूँ ना, तो तुम अपना सजेशन बताओ कि कैसे होना चाहिए।
सजेशन क्या सर? अब हम टीचर को कैसे बता सकते हैं पढ़ाने का तरीका सर?
टीचर पूछ रहा है ना,
टीचर तो
टीचर तो पूछ रहा है कि अगर कोई सजेशन है कि सर आप ऐसे पढ़ाएंगे तो अच्छा होगा, तो बताओ। मैं तो
हम तो बोल रहे सर समझा के पढ़ाएंगे तब ना सर।
तो मैं तो बस रीडिंग नहीं पढ़ा हूं, मैं जो भी
ये
लाइन
तो आप तो बस रीडिंग डाल दिए सर। रीडिंग डाल के तो कोई भी पढ़ लेगा। ये तो सर हिस्ट्री पॉलिटिकल साइंस सब जैसे पढ़ते हैं 10th 9 10 में वैसे रीडिंग डाल दिए सर।
तो
ये तो हम
कैसे?
लोग भी डाल सकते हैं ना सर।
तो मैं जो लाइन है बस
यही
वो रीड करके जा रहा हूँ या मैं उसको नहीं समझा रहा हूँ क्या?
सर। तो अभी आप जैसे हिंदी में आप बोले मतलब